So if Mike Tyson walks in here and tells you he's going to teach you how to box and says you can't fight, you're a pussy. If that upsets you, then you can't learn, right? It's Mike Tyson. Just shut up and listen. Yeah. If someone, Richard and me, comes along and says, Andrew, you don't know shit, you're a dumbass and you're a brokey, I'm going to sit there and go, okay, maybe I'm a brokey, Elon. Tell me something, right? I'll listen. But if you're going to sit there and go, don't call me names and not listen, you're never going to get anywhere, right? You don't become the master unless you're very, very good at being a student. And I've always been very, very good at knowing when to shut up. But I've got to a point in my life now where I don't have to shut up ever. So I don't.
I don't know how a man is waking up and he's happy without money.
Well, I think I've written books on money, done a lot of exploration. I actually think the rhetoric that money doesn't make you happy and life isn't all about money is part of the propaganda of what you call the matrix in indoctrinating us to concede and just enough so that we can pay our 50% taxes and pay our interest on all of our loans. And then when we die, pay 40% of everything that we own. Because if we know that money makes us really happy, we'll go and find it, which means becoming an entrepreneur and getting out of the system. And then that is freedom.
Oh, absolutely. So I think the smartest thing the rich people ever did was convince the broke people that money is. I think that's nail on the head. All the rich people like, don't worry, guys. Don't worry. Money doesn't make you happy, guys. I'm going to keep mine. But don't worry, it doesn't make you happy. I promise. I'm sad. Promise. You're sad? Yeah, we both are. Good luck. Biggest scam alive. Because money is freedom. It's freedom to drive what you want, eat where you want, go where you want. It's freedom to sleep with who you want. I just described it. If you want a beautiful woman, you need money. Like, money is freedom. If you don't want to be a slave, which is...
It's freedom to say no. Money is freedom to say no.
It's freedom to talk the truth online and be put in jail and come out and still have supercars.
My man has a Ferrari. Okay. I wish I had a Ferrari. Okay. They don't sit there and go for an hour. How did he get a Ferrari? It doesn't cross that part is the part they don't want to do, right? They just go, oh, he has a Ferrari. Wish I had a Ferrari. And they go back to TV.
Yeah.
And that's why they lose.
There's a lot of men who think what I think. They can't say it. They lose their jobs. So you want to say money doesn't buy happiness. Well, then you're saying you're happy to be a slave because only money is going to give you freedom. When they want to try and attack you, like they've attacked me, they take your money away on purpose. So absolutely, money's freedom to have an opinion now. So it's true. So yeah, exactly. So money absolutely is happiness because freedom is a bare minimum requisite to happiness. Unless you're happy being a slave. And you're right about what rich people did. They tried to convince all the people at the bottom that money isn't the answer. You're never going to be more happy poor. You may as well be rich. I can't think of many scenarios where being rich was a detriment over being poor. There's not many. Even if money can't help you, you may as well have it, right? So I completely agree with you. I think money is a bare minimum requirement for happiness, especially if you're a masculine man who wants to outcompete. Then you need money because money is basically everything. I think money is the most important thing in the world is health because you have nothing if you're dying. Second thing is family and friends who you love. And the third is money because it's everything else.
I think everybody knows that the system and the path they lay out for you is not a path that's going to lead to where you want to be. And I didn't know what the other path was, but that intrinsic distrust for the system and that distrust for the things they wanted me to do made me search for other avenues. And then I found them, right? And if you speak to the people who are richest, if you speak to the people you know, this is for everyone at home as well. If you speak to the people you know who have the most money and go up to them and say, hey, what made you rich? None of them say school. Do any of them say school made me rich? I got an A in GCSE. Like, who gives a it's bullshit, right? So it's all indoctrination. So I knew it was indoctrination. And for that reason, I was always searching. If you're searching, you're going to find. When I was 15, my first job was carrying boxes of fish from 7 a.m. till 5 p.m. And I would run to work. So I'd leave the house at 6. I'd run an hour. I'd get there at 7. I'd finish work at 5. And then I'd run from there to the fight gym, get to the fight gym. I'd get there early before training started. I'd eat food next to the gym and then I'd train and then I would get a ride home from my girlfriend at the time. So my entire life was 17 hours a day of just running and working and carrying boxes and fighting. And I can't be more thankful. You know, I don't want to be arrogant, but I'm going to. I really do believe I've had the perfect life. Now, I don't know if that's actually because I have the perfect life or if I framed it that way, but I am so thankful for everything. I am so glad I got to grow up poor, because I wouldn't appreciate money if I didn't. And I'm so glad I got to spend my 20s, that decade where you're as powerful as possible fighting. And I'm so glad I've had difficult jobs and no money. And I'm so glad I couldn't pay my bills so that I appreciate now all the money I have. And I'm so glad I had the parents I had.
And I'm so glad all these bad things happened to me, but enough good things happened. And I just really feel like it's been the perfect path. And I think back on that job. I think back on how my life was back then. And I realized that I wouldn't appreciate any of the things I have now without them. There's absolutely no light without dark. The best thing about being rich is talking about how you used to be poor. Otherwise, it's no point being rich at all. You're not going to enjoy any of it. You're going to end up addicted to drugs and doing crazy stuff, right? Yep. The reason I'm so happy, I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I'm happy every day, I'm pretty emotionally balanced, is because I wake up in a big ass house and I realize that I don't have to worry about rent the next day and everything's fine. I see it that there is so much money everywhere. And even I can't get it all. So I want as many people around me as possible to be rich, because now I'm at least around more money. If I send a message inside of HU and said, I want to raise $100 million amongst my students themselves, I can do it. I've got my own venture capital firm now. I was like, boom, all right, 100 million, let's buy a yacht. Here, dish it up, bang, 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 done. Yeah. Because all of them are making money. I want to know as many people with money as possible. So if I know a way to teach people how to make money, and I'll also make money for teaching them how to make money, and I now have people who I can talk to so I have access to the money they make, why would I not teach them how to make money? Now, the reason no one else has really done this is because I don't think anyone else knows how to make money as well as I do. And also nobody else can really prepare and build a platform like we have or do the work it takes. HU is extremely difficult to launch. It's not easy to find 18 professors who know what they're talking about, build an online platform. Then you need the payment gateways. And then even when all that's done, then you got to find a way to get people to join. You got to advertise it. I don't have to advertise anything. So I'm top G. Everyone knows, but it's difficult, right? So we don't even have any competition. There's nowhere else on the internet you can go and spend $49 and sit for an entire month learning from 18 millionaires how to make money. There's nowhere else on the planet. Yeah. It's the only place. So we have no competition. So we're about to conquer the world. We're about to conquer the world. And that's a good thing.
But how does one free their mind without getting into Hustlers University?
Well, if they're watching this podcast, it's a good thing. It's a good start, right? Hustlers University is the answer for the people whose minds are already free. Once your mind is free, once you understand that your chance of making money with the traditional route they've laid out for you is zero. Going to school, going to college, going to university, getting in debt, getting a job with school debt, getting a mortgage with mortgage debt, getting a car with car debt, in debt to the banks, working at a job with the pay rise comes very sparsely, inflation's out of control, the property, you're never going to pay it off, you're never going to get rich, you're going to stay broke forever. Once your mind understands that the system and the path they've told you towards riches, which is get a good job, get good grades, get a mortgage, is a lie, then you need an alternative, which is Hustlers University. We'll teach you how to make money for $49. It costs less than lunch. We'll teach you how to make money and you can escape the matrix. But first, your mind needs to be free. You need to understand that the path they're giving you leads nowhere. Some people still believe in it.
Bro, they do because sorry, Mom, I'm going to actually say this. She's going to watch the podcast later. But, I told her not to take the vaccine. I did tell her that. She's saying, no, everybody's taking it. My brother in London, he's saying that, I can't fly out of the country if I don't take it. I said, Mom, you don't need to take it. Yeah. Why? You're absolutely healthy. Yeah. You haven't got the C, man. You haven't. Yeah. I didn't get it. Yeah. Nothing's going to happen to anybody. It's just fucking flu. Yeah. A couple of days later, we see that I think the CDC announced that it treated like a flu. Yeah. I was like, what just happened? And she sent that to me. I said, why are you sending it to me? It was me who actually was telling you not to do it.
And this is the thing. Some people are still stuck inside the matrix, especially the older generation. I feel like the younger generation have woken up to a lot of the lies. But another reason why is because, have this cough bug to answer that. The matrix didn't betray the older generation as much as it betrayed our generation. So the path to wealth we just laid out worked for them. You could go to school, get good grades, get a good job, get a mortgage, get a house, pay the house off. Inflation has made the house price go up. You've made a bunch of money. Yeah. So the matrix did good by you.
Definitely.
The system wasn't completely corrupted. What did we talk about earlier about the cyclical nature of systems? And when the new king comes in, he has good intentions at the beginning.
The changing world order, right? Ray Dalio explained it.
That's right. The king comes in with good intentions before he ends up lying and lying and lying. Everyone's intentions start good.
Correct.
So the matrix, when it was all set up in this mortgage system, was probably set up with a very good intention. And it worked for a lot of people. Now it's all a scam. But because it worked for your parents, they're like, oh, you should go to school and save up and buy a house. That's what I did. Well, you did it because the cost of a house was twice your yearly wage. And now it's 100 times my yearly wage. And it's not even the same game we're playing. That's like saying you should just jump over him because I played checkers, but we're playing chess. They're different games. So the older generation still have some belief in the matrix because they haven't been deceived. They haven't been tricked as badly as the younger generation have. This is why they believe in it. But And that's why your parents will tell you the path to wealth that they followed because it worked, but it doesn't work anymore. Now we're living in a society where you have basically two choices. The path to wealth that they've laid out to you is a lie and a scam, and it's never going to work. You're never going to get rich that way, and you know it. Working hard in some corporate job is never going to make you rich ever.
Whatever you do, you've got to be a little bit gone to it. You're not all there. You've got to be almost insane to your craft. Not a lot of people can understand that. That's why I don't know about nothing else. I do not pay attention to nothing else. That's my life. Sequences and numbers. Nothing else. I cannot pay attention to nothing else.
The first rule of success is to have a vision. You see, if you don't have a vision of where you go, and if you don't have a goal where you go, you drift around and you never end up anywhere. It's like you can have the best ship in the world, you can have the best airplane in the world. If the pilot or the captain doesn't know where to go, it would just drift around. It would not end up anywhere, or most likely in the wrong place. My vision was totally different. I felt that I was born for something special, for something unique, for something big. So I was searching. I wanted to become a bodybuilding champion, just like Reg Park. Do you know how great it felt that I knew where I was going? Imagine the majority of people don't know where they're going. I knew where I was going, that I'm going to become this bodybuilding champion, just like him. So it was just a question of how do you do it? I was so relieved, because when you have a goal, when you have a vision, everything becomes easy. The majority of people don't like what they're doing, because they're really not doing it because they didn't have a goal and they followed this goal. They just aimlessly drift around, and then all of a sudden there's a job opening, so they get that job because you have to work. But then when you work, it's a chore. It's work. It's not fun. So if you think about only a quarter of the people really enjoy what they're doing in life, that is unbelievable if you think about it. So I felt so blessed that I knew what I was doing. It's like a medical student that studies and knows he wants to become a doctor. You know where to go. So I knew where to go.
There's no light without dark. If you love anything on the planet, you'll be called hateful against something else. The only people who aren't hateful are people who don't love anything and don't stand up for anything. I feel happiest when I do the things I'm supposed to do because I'm supposed to do them. Doing what you're supposed to do and fulfilling your duty and being proud of yourself is fun. That's the only fun you need. You don't need the fun of trying to chase all this garbage and this hedonism and this black hole. That doesn't lead anywhere. Well, I feel sad, but it doesn't matter because I'm doing the right thing. I feel depressed or I feel stressed, but it doesn't matter because I'm dedicating myself.
I had to believe in it. I had to feel it. I had to have faith in it for it to happen.
I'm in phenomenal shape, in body and mind. To me, what's unhealthy is living an unhealthy life. To me, what's unhealthy is getting up and going through the same day every day of your life, 9 to 5, in an office or in a, you know what I mean? That's unhealthy. That beats your mind. I don't work. I love what I do. And that's why I'm doing what I love. You know what I mean? That's why it's become a career for me, because I love it. I love what I do. So I don't think it's unhealthy. I feel good in my mind. You know what I mean? It's my life.
So people always ask me, when they saw me in the gym in the pumping iron days, they say, why is it that you're working out so hard? 5 hours a day, 6 hours a day, and you have always a smile on your face. The others are working out just as hard as you do, and they look sour in the face. Why is that? And I told people all the time, I said, because to me, I'm shooting for a goal. In front of me is the Mr. Universe title. So every rep that I do gets me closer to accomplishing that goal, to make this goal, this vision turn into reality. Every single set that I do, every repetition, every weight that I lift will get me a step closer to turn this goal into reality. So I couldn't wait to do another 500-pound squat. I couldn't wait to do another 500-pound bench press. I couldn't wait to do another 2,000 reps of sit-ups. I couldn't wait for the next exercise, for the next half hour of posing and all the kind of things that you have to do to be a champion. I felt so great knowing where I was going, and I tell you, it worked. I mean, think about it. And at the end, I was just not visualizing just my exercise, but I was really lifting the trophy over my head. That's what I was thinking about.
I think one of the largest tenets of masculinity for the largest period of human time is ignoring how you feel and doing what you're supposed to do because you're supposed to do it. We feel things, but jobs must be done, whether we are happy or sad. I'm stressed probably 6 days a week. I'm pissed off 6 days a week, but things need to be done.
Right.
So you just have to do them. I think humans, we're designed to struggle a bit, because the closer you are to struggle, the more sensible you are. Hard times create good men create good times, and the good times create a bunch of weaklings, and they mess everything up. Like, I think that inside of the human psyche, sometimes you need to be shocked. You need to be hammered with something. That's just how it goes. Because until then, you're like, maybe I'll keep it in mind.
Yeah.
What is life without difficulty in the first place? What is life? What is the point of life without difficulty? But in a world where everyone's chasing comfort and I'm chasing challenges, I really do think that would be a story.
I don't do nothing any different. I still come to the gym. There's people trying to get me to do this and get me to do that. In order to be successful at this game, it needs to be 24/7. I need to be living in this gym. And like, since this new facility, SBG Concord, has opened up, the setup now is I come here at 1, 2 o'clock in the day and I'm here till 10 o'clock at night. There's no outside distraction. There's no nothing. It's been crazy. The spotlight is on. The Irish public are watching, but it's what we planned. It's what we prepared. I knew I was going to be the person to bring martial arts to the public eye. It's the hard work pays off. That dreams come true. And that's what's happening.
And it was because I had a goal. And this is no different than anything else, what I'm talking about. This is not just about bodybuilding. And so I had this in my mind, no matter how much I bleed on my elbows or my knees, and I would do it over and over again until we got it. So let me tell you something, visualizing a goal and going after it makes it fun. You got to have a purpose no matter what you do in life. You got to have a
I've always been a believer in the struggles men have in their minds, and I've always spoke about it, and I've suffered with them myself. And this is one of the things when I say, like, depression isn't real, people say, "Oh, you don't understand." Let me counter that argument by saying, I understand very well. Me convincing myself and me deciding that depression isn't real is how I prevent myself from ever feeling depressed. And I've only constructed that mental model because I've been in situations in my life where I felt depressed. I'm not saying depression isn't real because I've never felt depressed. I'm saying depression isn't real because I've been very depressed. The people don't understand where my mindset comes from. I understand struggle and mental health and all these things. And yeah, jail was another chance to certainly touch on them, because in jail, in real life, when you have my kind of resource, you can distract yourself very easily. If you're sitting around and feel a bit mopey, if I'm sitting here and I'm a bit like, I can literally make a phone call and in 45 minutes be in the air on my way to anywhere on the planet with whoever I want to do anything I want. So you can distract yourself. I'm not saying it fixes all mental health, but it distracts you. Whereas in jail, you are stuck alone with your thoughts. And it was certainly a test of my mental resolve. And I would say that I passed. I did well. There was never a day where I broke down. There was never a day where I couldn't handle it. There was never a day where I was, I wasn't polite to the staff. I was very nice to everybody. There was never a day I couldn't hack it. It was certainly a test. And also, Tristan said this. I don't want to take his words, but he's true. You go through life telling everyone you're the baddest motherfucker there is. Sooner or later, someone's going to test you. You walk in the pub and you say, I'm the hardest man there is. Sooner or later, someone's going to fight you. Sooner or later. And life's like that. You want to be the top G and you want to go through life and say, I'm the top G. Then God's going to say, well, we're going to see if you deserve to call yourself the top G or not. We're going to put you in a Romanian jail cell. And we're going to leave you there to rot. You're not going to know how long you're in there for. And the biggest mindfuck is I thought I was going to be in there for years. I had no idea. Everyone's telling me years. I thought I was going to be in there for years. So maybe God was just he was watching me and he was having a look and saying, you want to call yourself top G? Let's see. And I like to think I passed the test. So it is what it is. But yeah, I agree with you. In terms of mental struggles, yeah, they exist for all men. And I also think that's one of the reasons I'm so large. I talk about those things a lot. I talk about those things a lot with men and I help men with them. And I try and say to men overall that life as a man is pretty shit and you're going to feel shit for a pretty large percentage of the time. But you're only going to ever escape that if you just perform regardless. You have to perform when you feel bad. As a man, you can't say, I will perform when I feel good. It doesn't work that way because our heads are too complicated and life's too complicated. There's too much on our shoulders. We have too much stress and too much pressure. Our heads are fucked. You have to be the kind of person who says, I perform regardless. I didn't miss a single day's training. I didn't miss a please. I didn't miss a thank you. I'm not saying I was happy. I'm saying I did exactly what I was supposed to do. The worst thing about prison, I think for everybody else, because there was a lot of men in there who were crying, a lot of men who were having mental breakdowns. I think it is the problem I didn't have, which is knowing that if you're a normal man, you go to jail and they just pick you up and you go to jail. Who pays the rent? Who's feeding your kids? Who's your wife sleeping with? Like life gets hard for all the external things you could no longer control, things that were your responsibility. I was lucky I didn't have those problems. And when I spoke to people, most people's issues were things that were happening on the outside. And I felt really good knowing that my life is set up in a way where even if I'm plucked from it, it operates. And I set that up because I thought they were going to kill me.
even to this day, if they shoot me right now, everyone around, everything would be okay. I don't have to exist for my life to fall. So that was fantastic about jail. The worst thing about jail, I mean, the cockroaches started off really bad, but after a few days, it's amazing how quickly you get used to cockroaches just in your bed. You're just like, oh, just kick them out of the way. That was kind of bad. But, not knowing when I'm going to get out, that was bad. Having my name slandered all around the world, that was bad. Not knowing how people are reacting to it. Like my first month in jail, I didn't know if people believed this garbage or not. I had no access to the internet. I didn't see anything. There was a lot about it that was hard, but, I have to believe it's going to make me a better person. Why else did I go? What did I go for? To waste 3 months? To stare at a wall for 3 months? Is that why I went to jail? No, I must have gone to jail to become a better person. I must have learned something. I have to self-analyze and find the lessons and pick it out. And I think a lot of people don't do that with all the bad situations in their life. regardless of whether you went to jail or a woman left you or your business failed, whatever it is, you need to analyze the entire situation and say, okay, what can I learn? There's a big pile of shit here, but there must be a little bit of gold inside. So I've just tried to look at it as a massive learning experience, and perhaps that's a coping mechanism, but I've found a lot of lessons which I'm implementing, and there's a very strong chance they're going to put me back. Not because I'm guilty, because I haven't done anything wrong, but because I'm currently in the middle of a judicial system. I'm in the judicial system of a country. I don't truly understand the language. I don't understand the judicial system. I don't understand the charges against me. I don't understand how any of this can be legal. I don't understand where it's come from. I don't understand the evidence they believe they have. And here I am stuck in this process, and who knows how it's going to end.
There are moments in your life that you feel overwhelmed by life, by people, by your own circumstances, by struggles.
We all get knocked down in every aspect of life.
Life has a way of humbling you. Life will make you shut up. Life will mute you.
You're going to feel awkward and stupid and dumb sometimes. At times you won't want to come out the house. At times you'll be feeling bad and don't know why. What's wrong? I don't know. Just leave me alone.
You will cry. You're going to fail, and you're going to be in your head. You're going to be saying, I'm not good enough.
But it's okay. It goes with the territory.
It's a part of the deal.
The real challenge of growth comes when you get knocked down.
You got to get messed up sometimes. You got to get dirty. You got to get your feelings hurt. You got to get disappointed. You're going to ask somebody for some money. He's going to tell you no. That's just dirt.
How you handle it, that's where the growth takes place. You want to take responsibility for your life. I got me here. I can get me out of this.
If somebody came and knocked you down, there ain't nothing you can do about it. But if I come back a week later and you're still on the ground, we got a problem.
You can decide that you're going to change, that you're not going to be a wimp.
The way you were born, what happened to you is not your fault. But doggone it, you still on the ground after 20 years?
See, you get tripped out because you got dirt on you. But you need dirt on you to develop.
If you get knocked down, there's nothing you can do about it. But getting back up has every single thing to do with you.
Don't you give up on your dream. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. Don't you do it.
See, you get mad when haters come your way. You get mad because you get a setback. You get mad because they talking about you. That's dirt.
You are not the only person that's been through a divorce, boo. Get over it. You're not the first one they let go of. You won't be the last one. The question is, what you going to do about it?
I'm not going to be a volunteer victim. You can decide that you're going to stand up to life.
I just need you to identify what your pain is, and then I need you to ask yourself what you're going to do about it.
And maybe you've been knocked down in your life, and it seems like, hey, the fight is over. It is not over unless you quit.
You can permit it to let it hold you down, or you can decide, I'm not going to let that happen to me.
You have a choice to either give up or get up.
You got to get gritty, man. You got to develop some dog in you.
You can decide, I'm going to work on myself and develop myself. I'm going to empower me.
You have to learn to turn and look at every obstacle as an opportunity. I will not give up. Every time I get knocked down, I will get back up and I will succeed. I love myself enough not to be trapped in the same doggone spot for the rest of my life. No pain, no gain.
Pain has a purpose.
Your pain ain't permanent. It might last for a second. It might last for a minute. It might last for months. But sooner or later, if you do not surrender, if you do not give up, it will subside.
Don't go through it. Grow through it.
And as pain leaves your body, guess what's going to take its place? Success.
You cannot build anything that won't bring a battle. And if you're going through a battle right now, it's only because you're building something.
Stop running from your pain and embrace your pain. What will you do with your pain? Will you let it break you or will you let it redefine? Your pain is going to be a part of your prize. I challenge you to push yourself. You want affirmation? Look yourself in the mirror and say, I think I can. I know I can.
You've got to decide to be relentless. You've got to decide never to give up.
Do whatever it takes. You your biggest driver.
You've got to find some reasons within yourself that will give you the stamina when life catches you on the blind side to keep on calling and coming back again and again and again.
You see, the fight's not over if you've been knocked down. It's only over if you quit.
Because life is a fight. It's a fight for integrity, your goals, your dreams, your ambitions. So every morning I've got to wake up and I've got to fight.
You gonna quit or you gonna make it to yourself? You gonna quit or you gonna make it to your goal? So you can stop waiting for it. You can stop wishing for it and you can get on with the rest of your life.
I got to fight for my dreams. I got to fight for character. I got to fight for integrity.
When you get to the point where enough is enough, doors start opening, opportunities start happening. But what you cannot do is you cannot quit during the process. All I'm saying is don't quit. I didn't say don't rest. Mentally, you can stay connected. But to win fights, you got to have stamina. You got to be ready to fight and bounce back. You better not feel sorry for yourself. You better get up and fight. And some of you are not successful because every single time you run up against a trial, you stop. I need you to match whatever effort the enemy is putting up. Match the doggone efforts. I'm going to think, I'm going to execute, and I'm going to win. And that's how you get to the next level. You cannot give up because it ain't what you see. You cannot give up. It's when you have nothing left. It's when you depleted all your money. When you have nothing left, that's when it's showtime. At the end of pain is your promise. So stop crying about it and use your energy to get through it. When you find a way out of no way, when you find breath that you don't have, when you want this thing as bad as you want to breathe, that's when you find a way. I cannot stop what happens to me, but I can dictate how I respond. I invested too much to quit. So when life happens, I don't just sit there and cry. I brought back.
Because all of us, if you live long enough, will go through a period of feeling so overwhelmed. Sooner or later you feel, oh God, just get me out of this.
I wish I could tell you it's going to get easier. I wish I could tell you that, but that's not the truth. The truth is you got to find something within. Life's going to whip your butt. Life is going to bully you. Stop crying. Let it hit you, but don't let it punk you. And when you find out what your why is, when you find your why, you find a way to make it happen. And I'm telling you right now, don't give up. Don't give in. Get through it. I don't care if you're sick. I don't care what you're going through. If you're not dead, he ain't through with you yet. As long as there's breath in your nostrils, you still in the game. You're going to be here one day, but you'll never get here if you give up. As long as there's breath in your nostrils, you still can win. And finally, guys, you got to want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe. And you will promise me that from this day forward, you will not be defeated.
Somebody holler, I'm not dead yet. Don't count me out. I may be sick, I may be crazy, I may be confused, but I'm not dead yet. Some people live in the cemetery of their failures. And I want to say to somebody who's fallen, or everybody hates you, and everybody walked away from you, don't live where they left you. Nudge somebody and tell them I will not die here. Whatever it takes for me to get out, I got to get out of here. I will not die on drugs. I will not die in depression. I will not die where you met me.
Number one motivating thing for me, and I'm just being honest, was I was sick and tired of being poor. My mother was poor, my father was poor, my brothers and sisters were poor. I lived in a poor neighborhood, we lived in a poor house. And I would see, like at Christmas time, my father would put us in the car and take us out to the suburbs to see the Christmas lights. And I would see these big houses, man. I told my father, I said, Dad, I said, why don't we get one of these houses? He said, boy, I ain't got no money for this kind of house. He said, but if you work hard, you can make some money, you can buy you one of these houses. My motivation was to buy a big house so I could put up Christmas lights. And I always dreamed of buying my mother and father a real house. And before they died, I was able to do all of that. You have to find a dream that's so big that it overwhelms all of your fears and causes you to never give up.
Always go to something bigger than yourself. I'm wondering if you've been defeated because you have been giving yourself wholly to something that was too small to hold you. Are you trying to take a bath in a bowl? Are you not guilty of immersing yourself into things that were too small to hold your vision?
Why you keep imagining buying a house? Why do you keep imagining getting rich one day? Why do you keep imagining that? Because God is talking to you. You got to start believing in your imagination.
Your wife breaks your heart. If you're not going to work, you can't sleep anymore. You're upset. She's running around with a new dude. You see her Instagram story. She's got some new guy. You're furious and you're angry and you're jealous and you're bitter. You have all of this inside of you, but you're not going to go to the gym and work hard and become so fantastically in shape and so rich and so powerful that no girl ever leaves you again. You're not going to do that. No. What are you going to do with it? Text her? Try and explain to her? She doesn't care. Like, you can write the most perfect English. You can write the most beautiful words ever constructed. Forget Shakespeare. You can do, it doesn't matter. She doesn't care. She just doesn't care. She's distracted.
She forgot about you.
She forgot about you. So what are you going to do with all of that inside of you if it's not positive? Well, it's going to consume you and you're going to end up self-destructive, or you're going to embarrass yourself, or you can take all of that and put yourself in a position where it never happens to you again. Those are the choices. So what's the most intelligent choice to make?
Yeah.
You know, I don't understand how many humans function in the world today. I don't get people who don't think like me. I don't understand it. I'm like, well, then how have you survived this long? Life is hard. Life is difficult. Maybe I've just been unlucky, which I don't believe in, but I've had so much trauma and bad events and negativity and stress and all these things that have happened to me. And I've used all of it to be monumentally successful. People are functioning. If you're not thinking like me and you're going through life with any other mindset, you've been extremely fortunate that God smiled on you and allowed you to sit around most of the time doing jack shit, and you have yet to be punished for that. Yeah. I could never have lived that life. If I was a bit lazy or a bit, or I was a bit of a snake, or if I lied to people, I'd be dead by now. Yeah. So a lot of these people are just absolutely and utterly blessed by God that they managed to go through life with such a non-competitive mindset and they still breathing. I don't understand how people can think any other way. Yeah. I've spoken to dudes and I had a bad couple months. Why? My girl left me. You've wasted months. You've wasted months. Think of how much God loves you to have given you the grace and given you the opportunity to waste months of human time over some chick. Talk about blessed head to toe. If I waste months, empires are going to collapse. I'm going to end up in a cell or dead if I waste months. I have things to do every single day. I can't waste a second. These people are just absolutely infinitely blessed. And their mindset is a product of that because they're spoiled children. Absolutely spoiled children. Because there's a whole bunch of people out here daily who fail. There are men out here who fail daily and they have yet to feel the true consequence for it. They fail to go to the gym when they know they should have gone to the gym. They fail because they forgot their keys and it took them 10 minutes to find them. They fail because they replied to a question they got sent on WhatsApp the wrong way. They fail because they didn't smile when they were supposed to. They didn't say please and thank you to that person who helped them. They fail because they didn't say hi to that girl who's looking at them out the corner of their eye. They just fail perpetually. They go through life missing every opportunity and just failing. And somehow we've built a society which is so soft and God is so giving and so graceful that they still have a place to eat. and somewhere to sleep, and they're still surviving. That shows how nice God is. Yeah. Because before this society, truthfully, if you were that level of failure, you would be dead.
Survival of the fittest.
You're survival of the fittest. And none of these men out here are fit. No. Their mindset isn't fit. Their reality isn't fit. They're failures. They're failures. Yeah. And they're just failing every single day. And they go, oh, but you know what? Tomorrow I'll go to the gym. Yeah. You've been failing your whole life. That's all you've done is fail. And then you sit and wonder why people like me absolutely and utterly outcompete you. It is so easy to become a top tier male in the world today because the competition is so ridiculously low. There are 2% killers like me, and everybody else amateur, head to toe amateur. They can't even pay attention to anything. They can't try anything. They're amateurs. And it's really mind blowing to me because I've tried with all of my computational power to imagine having a mindset different to mine. And I just can't see a reality worth having. I can't see a reality worth living. I can't see how you're going to build a life worth experiencing if you have any other mindset. I've never seen somebody massively succeed and they didn't believe in themselves, ever. I've never seen somebody who just allows life to happen to them and become blown off course by some sadness, end up doing massively monumental and important things. I've never seen it.
It's never happened.
It does, and it's never going to happen because it's competitor. It's like crypto. It's player versus player. Right. I can sit here right now at power. I can sit here right now and recall events that will prevent me from sleeping for 2 to 3 days. That gives me a superpower that other men do not have. They want to go to sleep. They're tired. I can stop being tired for days at a time. I can just have a thought. I can remember. I can sit, close my eyes, and use the power of my brain to vividly remember events, and I will not sleep for days. And when people come to me and say, oh, this happened, I'm really sad, or my heart broke, or this bad thing happened to me, I say, good. Thank the Lord that he's given you this endless source of motivation. You're wasting it. That's your problem. But it's been given to you. Nitrous oxide has been given to you. You just have to use it in the correct way. So I'm the luckiest man in the world because all the bad things that happened to me have given me all the building blocks to become the most fantastic man on the face of the planet.
Grief. No one escapes it. Not the rich, not the poor. Not the famous, not the infamous. Grief is a natural response to loss. Often the pain of loss can feel overwhelming. You may have all kinds of unexpected emotions. You can be angry. You can have disbelief. You can have guilt. There isn't a person listening to me who hasn't encountered grief. You've lost somebody. You've been through some things. Maybe it was the loss of an opportunity. Maybe it was the slow disintegration of a relationship that was once a source of love, and now it is a source of pain. No tear ducts will go unused in this life. The moment the doctor slapped your bottom, you came out of your mama crying. There is no way around it. There is no injection for grief. No medication for grief. It doesn't matter how intellectual you might be, how wealthy, or even how spiritual you may be. Grief without discrimination comes to everybody. Don't let these people deceive you that they are so spiritual they don't know what it is to have grief. They are liars. Every last one of them are absolute liars. While grief is common to all of us, prolonged grief can be physically and emotionally debilitating. Can affect your health. Can affect your mind. It can affect the next relationship you have because you really haven't gotten over your past relationship. How long? How long will you mourn? You should have overcome your grief by now. How long will you weep? How long will you be bitter? How long will you be angry? How long will you sob and mourn and walk around enraged? What good is it getting a divorce if you're still going to be mad? If you're still going to be writing notes and wondering, did you see him? And who was he with? You are not divorced. I don't care what the paper says. You are still married. How long? God says, how long will you mourn over a door I have closed? How long will you mourn over a marriage that's over? A job that's gone, a girlfriend that left, a boyfriend that left. How long will you be angry and frustrated and build your whole life around something that is dead?
If you're going to fulfill your destiny, you have to get good at letting things go. Jesus said, offenses will come. Disappointments will come. Betrayals, things that are not fair will come. How you handle the hurts will determine whether you move forward or whether you get stuck, bitter over what didn't work out. How many people are living wounded over how they were raised, a friend that walked away? They wonder why they don't have good relationships. It's because they haven't healed. God brings a new person, but they're so insecure. This new person has to keep them fixed. The problem is that's not sustainable. Until you let go of what didn't work out, that wound is going to hinder you wherever you go.
You would be shocked at the people who get up every morning with a heart full of grief. And it comes out in their speech, and it comes out in that snappy way they confront you, and you think they're mean. They're not really mean. They're still grieving. How long? How long does it take to get over a person? How long will you put your future on hold, mulling over your past? How long? I came to get somebody unstuck. I came to get somebody free. You cannot spend your rest of your life grieving over who didn't love you, who wasn't there for you. You're stuck. God did not create you to be stuck with a heart full of grief. It's why you can't fall in love. It's not that there's nobody to love. It's that you haven't gotten over who you used to love. How long will you be angry? How long will you keep checking their Facebook page? How long will you keep investigating somebody who's not even thinking about you anymore? How long will you mourn around the tomb of what didn't work out? There are some times in your life that you gotta get up, wash your face, go on with your life. Life is too short for grieving over who didn't want you, who left you, the job you didn't get, the house that you didn't close on. How long? I don't know who I'm preaching to. You are not yourself. You were not created for this. You were not created to be stuck like this. God wants your nerves and cells and bone and muscles to move. Somebody shout, move. I will not spend the rest of my life hanging around the cemetery of what could have been, what ought to have been.
Look, man, if you got something that's been bothering you in your life, get past it. Don't lay there wallowing in your past, man. Your past is back there.
It's much more freeing when you learn to let things go. Wasn't fair? That's okay. God will be your vindicator. They hurt you once. Don't let them continue to hurt you by holding on to it. Living in mourning is going to keep the new doors from opening.
I want you to think about somebody that caused you some pain. Let me tell you something about the mind. Tell you something super stupid that I used to do. Do you know for years I hated my mother and my father, whoever they were, because they gave me away? And guess what? I didn't have any faces for the hatred because I never saw either one of them. And then once I forgave them and said, had they not given me away, I would have never been blessed to have the mother that I have, who to me is the greatest mother in the world. You can't change the past, but you can reinterpret how you see it. Give an interpretation that empowers you. Let that luggage go. Think about somebody that you've hurt, somebody that you've disappointed, or someone that has hurt you. Look at them in your mind's eye and say, I forgive you. Boy, that's a heavy load to let off.
I want you to live in a continual process of forgiveness. Every day, we should be ready to forgive. I've learned life is full of wounded people. At times, they'll be disrespectful. They'll say things they shouldn't. You can't stop the offense from coming, but you can keep it from getting down in you. Joel, I can't forgive them. You don't know what they did. You're not doing it for their sake. You're doing it for your sake. Let it go. You have to give it to God.
Impact. Let's think impact. If a person's watching this content, most of the people that are watching this, a portion is going to be those that are haters, that just want to find, like, poke at the argument to find, you see, I told you, fine. But a lot of people that are also watching this, they're probably wanting to make impact. They want their life to have meaning behind it. That's who's watching this show today, right? Okay. So I can't be a president, but I want to make impact. I being anybody that's watching this. Because Putin says 8 years, another guy comes, or the guy with the briefcase shows up. Okay, cool. Well, if you were in the States and you're saying president wouldn't be how to make an impact, but let's say there is a kid who's 20 years old, 18 years old, 25 years old, has so much drive, it's unbelievable. Yeah. Ambition at the highest level. Who do you think has the biggest influence to make positive change, like real change? Is it the person with the money? Is it the person with the biggest mic? Is it the person that goes into politics? What is the best way to have the biggest impact?
Yeah, so I think the world has always only ever been a battle for influence. Even if you look at the current battlefield, Ukraine is next door. It's 5 hours drive away. The battle in Ukraine is not just about tanks and trenches and grenades. It's a battle for influence. Who influences the people within this territory? Who is in charge of the thinking, the language, the mindset of people within this geographical area? Every single battle, every single pitched battle, every single argument, every single debate has always been a battle for influence. If you have influence, you're an extremely powerful person. All of us here are some of the most powerful people in the world. How many millions of people listen to us? We have massive influence. And I think you can have influence at the ground level. You don't have to be a famous podcaster or famously well-known to have influence. I would argue that those Romanian grandmas who gave me my food will remember me for the rest of their lives. I would like to believe I gave a positive influence and a positive impact on their lives for the rest of their life. I believe if you go through life and you're genuinely a good person, and you try your best to be good to people, and you're honest, and you shake hands, and you don't lie, and you're on time, and you work hard, and you're good to everyone who's good to you, I think you'll have a massive influence. And I also believe, I truly believe that God is extremely giving. There's this saying, goes around, comes around. Completely true. But I would say it comes from God. God is keeping an eye on you, and he's paying attention to you, and he knows the kind of person you are and the kind of things you do. And I don't believe if you're actually genuinely a good person all of the time, that you're not going to get some goodwill back to you. Look at my scenario. If I was being a piece of shit for years with all these chicks, I'd be in jail. I'd be in jail. I could have never seen this coming. But the fact that I was nice, paid their taxi home, bought them food, looked after them. Are you okay? I know we broke up. I'm sorry. I know it hurts. I just did it. I was nice about all of it. Here I am. I'm fine. So I could have never seen this Matrix attack coming. It's amazing how what goes around comes around. It's truly amazing. If you're good to people, if you're generous to people, if you're helpful to people, you'd be amazed how much influence you can build up. I say this to people all the time. I don't think if you're a hardworking person who is honest, who shakes hands, who tries to learn, who does what they're supposed to do, who has a good heart, that you're truly, really not going to be able to get what you want. I think the universe is absolutely and utterly giving. When I see somebody who says they want something and they don't have it, I don't even think they truly even want it. You can have anything you want in the world. When a guy goes, I want a six-pack, then why ain't you got one? If you wanted it, you'd have it. You'd like it. There's a bunch of things I'd like that I don't have. But I don't want them. Everything I've ever wanted, I've got. I've never wanted something and not had it. We all know what we're talking about here. There's things we'd like. I'd like to be able to figure skate. Not enough to go learn to figure skate.
It's a weird look if you figure, although that other guy dancing like the way you dance is doing a pretty good job.
Bottom G.
You've seen this guy?
He can figure skate.
That guy kills the dance.
Yeah, he's good. But
your doppelganger.
But if you truly want something, you're going to absolutely not have it. So when it comes down to influence, I think you start at the base level, at the grassroots level.
What if this guy's got, like, you know, for example, like, you know how when you were 20, were you this driven?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so when you're 20, who did you look at and say, I can do it as good as him, if not better?
My coach, because I wanted to fight, and he used to beat me badly. Everyone used to beat me up when I was young, and I wanted to be the best. So I used to go into the fight gym.
Okay, how about communication? Who'd you look at? Were you always a good communicator? I can see you being a great communicator since you were 14 years old. Am I pretty?
I was pretty good, yeah.
Okay, who did you look at and say, that guy's good, but I think I can, you know, do it better?
That's a good question. And I think that,
you know what I'm asking.
I know what you're asking. I don't know if there's one particular person I took nuances from, because when you're a great communicator, you know how to be serious, and you know how to make people sad and angry, and you also know how to make people laugh. There's different people who can do lots of different things.
So who was that? Was it somebody that was multifaceted like that?
I think it was a lot of different people. And I also think that...
Did you pull from comedy as well, or no?
Certainly did, but I was also extremely self-critical. I think that's where a lot of it comes from. I'll watch this podcast back 15 times. I will notice every single time I made a mistake. Just then I said, I'll watch twice. That was a mistake. I will watch this back 15 times and I'll identify every single error. I have an email list and I sign up and I get words of the day. I get 5 or 6 new words a day, which I try my very best to memorize. It's harder than you think to memorize 5 words a day, but I always try to make sure I have the most interesting vernacular I can possibly have, a wide vocabulary, so I can be very specific with my points. The reason I actually did that, I keep talking about my dad, but I'm his son. I have the same name, Emory Andrew Tate III. He was Emory Andrew Tate II. My father was a linguist for the CIA. He spoke Russian and German and Spanish and English. And I think I've told this before. Back then, when they needed someone who spoke Russian, they would take a Native American and teach them Russian. Nowadays, we have a bunch of Russian-speaking allies. You can go to Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. They're all NATO and just get a Russian speaker. Back then, they taught my dad Russian, and he held the Air Force record for the fastest assimilation of a foreign language. When he died, a guy sent me a message saying, you don't know who I am, but I worked with your father in the Air Force, and he had the fastest assimilation. He learned Russian in 2 weeks. Crazy. And I remember saying to my dad, will you teach me Russian? He said, boy, you don't even know English. I was like, what do you mean? He goes, you don't even know English. And once he sat me down with a dictionary, I was like, you're right. I don't even know English. That's why I've lived in Romania 7 years. People say, why don't you speak Romanian? Because I don't know English yet. I need to finish the first job before I learn the second. I don't know English. There's a bunch of words I don't know. I can't speak how he spoke. So I don't have time for a second language. Yeah. Also, another thing I found really interesting, Putin speaks English. Have you ever heard him speak English? No. Because if you want to speak to Putin, you speak to him in his language. You speak to me in Russian, and I reply to you in Russian, so I cannot be misunderstood or misconstrued. I don't make a fool of myself. You can't get me on some vernacular trick. I speak my language, and I also prefer that also. I speak English. That's what I speak. If you want to speak to me, you speak to me in my language, so I will win the debate always.
Who'd you look up to outside of your dad?
I look up to lots of people.
I'm talking specifically younger age, not today. I'm talking 16, 20, 25, that age. Not today.
It's a good question. Because I always believed in trying to take the best parts of individual people and then amalgamate them. And I know you want a name, and I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I would look at people who I didn't even respect, but they'd have one particular thing about them. I thought, that's good. It could be somebody I didn't even like, but he dressed well. I think you just have to be perspicacious and look at people, and there's something you can learn from absolutely everybody, and just try and adapt it all. I'm not saying everybody should be clones of me. For everyone's individual, right? But there might be some things about me they find inspiring that they may adapt and take on board, and then they'll find some things from other people. But learning to speak is something I understood from a very young age how important that would be. That's a superpower.
Okay, so let me go back to the question I was asking, where I'm trying to go with this. So I asked the question, I said, imagine the 20-year-old that's watching this, that's saying, no, Tate, don't give me the answer for anybody can create, contribute to society. I'm not that guy. Talk to me like I'm 1 in a million. Talk to me like I'm one in. So if I'm willing to give 20 years, 30 years of my life to one way to go up to make true positive impact in America, my country, in the world, what should, don't talk to me like everybody else. What the standards, what should I do? What angle should I do?
Okay, so first things first, you need to be worthy of respect. And you're going to be worthy of respect through having things which are difficult to acquire. So first things first, the basic things, you need to be very focused on trying to make money, because people listen to you when you have money. They just do. Secondly, you need to be in fantastic physical condition, because when you're in fantastic physical condition, it cannot be bought. It must be earned. And people know that. When you're in, I don't know about you. If someone walked in to sell me something and they were obese, I would not trust them the same as if they were in fantastic physical shape. Because I'd say, I don't think you have dedication and heart. I don't think there's something about you that I just wouldn't trust you the same. So fantastic physical condition and money is the first thing. The second thing, whatever your ideas are, you need to learn how to communicate them. Speaking is a superpower in and of itself. You need to become a fantastic communicator. You need to be comfortable in all realms of communication. You need to be persuasive. You need to be comfortable arguing. You need to be good at debating. There's a lot of people out there in the world who have ideas that they can't even project into somebody else's mind. How are you going to rule the world with that? How are you going to get your ideas out there and make an influence if you can't make other people understand exactly what you think? That's the first thing. Second thing, once they understand exactly what you think, you need to make them agree with what you think. These are two different skills. Must be practiced and must be learned. If you're 20 years old and you want to change the world, you need to be having endless debates. Endless. Without resorting to name calling, not on Twitter like a dummy, in person. And you need to come across in a way that people agree with you. We can go back quickly and talk about the red pill. The difference between me when I talk to girls on these panel shows and every other guy when they talk to girls on these panel shows is, when I'm done, all the girls want me. Watch them. Watch the shows. I say the same thing, and by the end, the chicks are in love with me, as opposed to saying the same thing and the chicks thinking I'm a dickhead. That's the difference. I project my ideas and I make them agree with my ideas to a point where they're like texting me afterwards. I'm not saying anything different. It's how I'm communicating it. You can catch more flies with honey than hurting people sometimes. So you need to be good at everything. You need to have a Swiss Army knife of tools. I know when to be intimidating or aggressive. I know when to come across as obtuse. I know when to come across as exceptionally open-minded and easy to understand. I know when to come across as understanding. I know all these things. This all has to be practiced. And a lot of it is, communication. I would say, if you're going to say to a 20-year-old who's truly exceptional and driven, I'd say you need to become a master communicator. Because once you can do that, you can do anything. And that fixes all the other problems, right? We talk about making money. If you're a master communicator, you do fantastic in sales, you'll kill sales. You'll absolutely destroy sales if you're a master communicator. Not many people know this, but I used to sell windows. You know the old school knock on the door? Window sales. I did window sales for 2 or 3 years, and I'd say this is one of the hardest jobs you could possibly do. And I would always recommend a young man, if he has some time to waste, to go sell windows. And the reason, it's fantastic, because I'll tell you why. It's the hardest one to sell because, 1, nobody wants them. 2, they don't know who you are. And 3, even if you convince them that they need windows, after them not knowing who you are, then they go to all your competitors and then it becomes a price war. It's a nightmare. It's the hardest sales job. If you're selling a Lambo, at least they want the Lambo, right? Nobody wants glass and plastic. They already have windows. So you got to find a way to sell them these windows. How do you do that? And that's where all this master communication comes in. And it's so many subtle little things. Being a good salesman is not necessarily being a liar. It's not being a trickster. It's just understanding what's going to make the person believe and understand what you say. If I walked in and said, would you like new windows? And they essentially said, no, we don't need new windows. Our windows look fine. I would say, but what about the security aspect? While looking at their 3-year-old child. And they'd sit there and go, what do you mean security aspect? And then I talk about how we had the Lock 5000, and their locks are easy to break, as if glass isn't glass. It's all the same anyway. And you'd end up selling the windows. You have to find the triggers in people. There's another thing people don't understand about me and my message. Sometimes I sit here and I say things that piss people off because that's how you trigger people to make action. I have often written emails or done videos especially to men when I want to help men, to piss them off. You're a loser. You're a dumbass. Andrew, why you mean? Because you're not going to go to the gym unless I tell you you're a fucking loser. And you are a loser, and I'm not lying to you. You are a loser. The emotional trigger you need to get up off that chair is the fact that you're not important, nobody cares who you are, any girl you're ever in love with I could take, and you're insignificant. And when you die, nobody's interested. That's your fault. You could have been something else. You did that. You failed. It has to be done. You have to be a master communicator. And sometimes that involves also insulting people. It's all a massive tapestry. But to answer your question, for the 20-year-old, he needs to become a master at communicating. But also to be a master at communicating, you also need experiences worth talking about. You have to live a life. You need a degree of wisdom. And wisdom doesn't always come with age. It comes with life lived. I had a guy message me. This is a long time ago when I used to reply to my own emails. Too big now. But he said, I don't have any stories. My life's boring. I said, bro, where do you live? He said, Madrid. I said, bro, ride the train from Madrid to St. Petersburg. Ride the train from Madrid to Vladivostok. Do the Trans-Siberian Railway. Cost you like $300. He goes, oh, but what if I get robbed? Exactly! That's exactly the point! What if you get robbed? Now you have a story. Maybe you'll die, maybe you won't. But you have a story. Don't bring your watch. Have you got a Rolex? No one wants to rob you anyway. Don't worry about it. You're brokey. Get on the train. There has to be that degree of risk to even have a story, because when you have a story, then you can communicate the story. You can't be an empty vessel either. So when you say you're telling me how I build this 20-year-old into a super soldier. Yeah, he has to be a master communicator, but he also has to do things which are risky. Risk has value intrinsically linked to it, intrinsically. This is why people, when you do risky things, people want to hear the story. Your coolest stories involve risk. Something went wrong. This could have happened. I almost this. I made it out. Without these risks, you haven't got it. So I would say to the 20-year-old, do what I did. Get in the cage. Get in the ring. Knock someone out, get knocked out, train hard. Fighting will teach you everything you need to know about life. You learn everything about who you truly are. You learn if you're a coward or not. You learn everything about perseverance and hard work and dedication. Everything about being underappreciated. You learn everything about fear. You learn all of it. You learn everything about people. You win a fight, check your phone. Lose a fight, check your phone. You learn all about people. You learn all about them. You learn all about women. I learned so much about women through fighting. When I had a fight coming up and I was weight drained and I had barely eaten in weeks and I'd lost all this weight and I had a world title fight and I'm fighting a guy who might kill me and she's complaining about the toilet seat. I learned all about women. You learn a lot about life through these difficult processes and paths. And there used to be for men like a rite of passage. In most societies, you had to go through something to become a man, from a boy to a man. But that thing was always difficult. It's always been difficult. Now you have to self-induce it, self-inflict it. But if you're going to be a boy and never bring on that self-inflicted rite of passage, how are you going to ever become a man?
It's great feedback.
Let me ask